The grueling 7-month battle for the frontline town of Bakhmut ended with street fighting and skirmishes in country roads and settlements on its outskirts, where Ukrainian troops dug narrow trenches into the muddy ground to strengthen their positions. The Ukrainian Air Force reportedly carried out 18 raids on Russian temporary bases, also hitting Russian air defense systems, ammunition depots, and bridges. From 24 February 2022 to 5 March 2023, the Ukrainian Defense Forces eliminated an estimated 153,120 Russian soldiers, including 930 over the last 24 hours. Fighters of the 44th Separate Artillery Brigade of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, named after Hetman Danilo Apostol, destroyed 2 152mm Hyacinth B howitzers, 2 infantry fighting vehicles, and important objects of the Russian troops. The unit's press service published a video report on its official page on the social network Facebook. All footage is taken by the unmanned aerial vehicle, whose operator finds the target, sets the precise geodetic coordinates, passes it on to the gunner, adjusts the fire, and records the results. In the same situation, the Special Operations Forces of the Ukrainian Armed Forces in the direction of Bakhmut during night reconnaissance in close combat also destroyed 5 Russian invaders. South of Donetsk, rocket and artillery units of the Ukrainian Armed Forces destroyed a building in the occupied city of Volnovakha, where Russian invaders had set up a military command post. This was reported by the Telegram channel Donbass Operative, with reference to local residents. Meanwhile, the Russian forces also launched 6 missile strikes, 24 airstrikes, and more than 65 sorties with the MLRs over the last few days. According to the General Staff, Russian troops targeted civilian infrastructure, resulting in civilian casualties. Russian artillery has been pounding the last rout out of Bakhmut while trying to complete the siege of the besieged city and edge Russia closer to its first major victory in the Ukrainian war in 6 months. The General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces said late on Saturday that they had repelled Russian attacks on the villages of Vasyukovka, Orakovo-Vasilivka, Dubovo-Vasilivka, and Precarious, all of which are just north of the central city of Bakhmut. Not all Ukrainian attacks on Russian positions end up circulating on social media like the recent attacks on what Ukraine says were more than 30 Russian ammunition depots in the occupied east and south. There was another, much more discreet operation carried out by Ukraine deep into Russian-occupied territory. Among these modest operations was the destruction of a Wagner Group base 45 kilometers east of the front line at Russian-occupied Kadiivka in Luhansk Oblast in early June. Russia is deploying the Wagner Group, a Russian-controlled mercenary group that operates at the request of the Kremlin around the world, to eastern Ukraine amid its heavy military losses. Meanwhile, Russia faced a shortage of ammunition. The leader of the Wagner Group said as he warned that Bakhmut's front lines would be crushed if he withdrew his troops. In a video posted on Twitter, Yevgeny Prigozhin said, "If Wagner steps down, it is clear that the front will collapse. It will collapse to the Russian borders and maybe beyond." He said the wage dispute could lead to a situation where his mercenaries withdrew and the government would be forced to explain to the Russian people why we are in such trouble. He further described Wagner as the cement that prevented the Ukrainians from breaking through the Russian lines. Prigozhin has historically been a key ally of Putin, but tensions between them arose during the war over the extent to which Russia's offensive depended on private mercenary groups. British intelligence echoed claims of an ammunition shortage early Sunday, saying in its update that there had been a recent increase in close combat as the Russians ran out of artillery ammunition. According to a March 5 British Ministry of Defense intelligence update, the Russian army was forced into hand-to-hand combat due to a shortage of ammunition. Therefore, the reserve troops were ordered by the Russian command to attack the Ukrainian concrete strongpoint with only guns and shovels. The UK Ministry of Defence also commented that one of the reservists explained that they were neither physically nor mentally able to carry out the action. The supreme commander of what Russia calls special military operations in Ukraine has informed Russia's defense minister of the current situation and plans of action, his ministry said Sunday. Sergei Shoigu paid a rare visit to Russian troops deployed in Ukraine, presented medals to military personnel and met senior commanders during the trip, according to a statement and video released by Russia's defense ministry on Saturday, according to a Reuters report. The minister held a meeting with the operations commander. The ministry said on its Telegram messaging platform on Sunday. It was not stated whether the meeting took place during the trip. Russian military chiefs have visited the front line in Ukraine only occasionally since Moscow invaded in February last year. Bakhmut's deputy mayor, Oleksandr Marchenko, told BBC Radio that there was fighting in its streets, but that Russian troops still do not control the town. The situation in Bakhmut appeared especially precarious amid evidence that the Ukrainians were preparing extensive new defensive positions, including around the nearby city of Kramatorsk. Videos posted online showed the explosion of a railway bridge over the Bakhmutka River east of the city, while other footage showed damage to a small road bridge. General Sir Richard Shirreff, former deputy commander of NATO's top European ally, urged accelerated supplies of equipment and support to Ukraine to give Ukraine the tools they need to do the job. According to a March 5 report by the General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, Russia is now using the Novokakhovka residential area in Kherson Oblast as a human shield to deploy its anti-aircraft defense systems. Novokakhovka is 50 kilometers northeast of Kherson, the regional capital. It stands on the east bank of the Dnipro River, directly across from Ukrainian-controlled territory on the west bank. At the same time, the General Staff added that Russia is working to improve its tactical position in the Zaporizhzhia and Kherson directions in order to continue the offensive. Since the liberation of the southern city of Kherson on November 11, 2022, it has been subject to daily shelling by Russian troops. On March 4, Russian strikes killed a 57-year-old man in Lvov, Kherson Oblast. And on March 3, police officers and volunteers were attacked in Kherson Oblast, regional police reported.